What's up, lads? You're with Budget Monk, and welcome to the next episode of basically Eu4. In this episode, we're going to be talking about the Promised Land Swindle, and it's pretty straightforward. It has nothing to do with Navarra, but we're going to be using Navarra to demonstrate this here today. I wish to make a claim on Aragon. Nice. And ally Castile, who begins protective this time, which is awesome. So, fun fact. You can see Aragon is protective here as well. Typically, England, Castile, and Aragon will try to diplo-vassalize you, regardless of whether they're militaristic or hostile or hate you or whatever. They typically change their attitude, and that's going to make them protective, which is going to make it very easy to ally them. So in this case, I'm going to not be doing anything normally, like doing estates or anything that's not relevant to this episode. I am on non-Iron Man mode here, where we're going to be exploiting the use of console commands. But we're going to go ahead and make a claim against Aragon, so I'll see you then in a second. Alright, here we are. I have my claim ready against Aragon, and what I've gone ahead and done is gotten military access through Castile. We've gone up to our force limit 6 out of 6, and I've moved, distributed my units here along the Aragonese border. So, some people might not know, but you do not get exiled when you declare a war inside of your allies' land, however you would anybody else, apart from your own. With that being said, let's let a day pass here to get our claim. There it is, and unsurprising to anybody, Castile will join here in exchange for Promised Land. Perfect. So obviously you would need the favours to call him to arms without promising him land. Alright, so before we get started here, we're going to talk about the show diplomatic feedback for people who do not know. If you right click a nation, you can click on this tab here and you can see how they feel about certain provinces. So in the case of his ally Portugal, he actually has strategic interest in this, and the reason why is because it's the same culture and trading region. But as a militarist, he's going to have an awful lot of vital and strategic interest all over the place, because he's an aggressive personality type militarist. But unsurprisingly to anybody, he has a huge amount of vital and strategic care against his rival Aragon. And this is something that we want to be very aware of. So if we click on our own nation with diplomatic interests, we can see strategic on our own claim. But for the purpose of this executing the strategy, we're going to have vital interest along the entire border here by clicking these provinces. Now it's very important that you do this before going to war. For people who do not know, once you are at war, you cannot make a province vital interest that is vital or strategic interest to anybody else involved in the war. So it has to be beforehand. And for the purposes of executing the strategy, we're going to do the entire border, and this is where my units are, in order to make an effort of acquiring the occupations. So say that we don't occupy this, and Castile does. In that case, I would have to give him the province that we promised, or alternatively betray him. However, if we make the occupations myself, we're good. Now, you can see here that he wants all the way up to here. Zaragoza, he wants all of this stuff. So for the purposes of pretending that we're invested in this run, right, we want the state of Aragon. Let's say that's what we're gunning for. It allows you to pass this mission and so on. So for that reason, we're going to vital interest that as well. So the idea is we want Aragon, the state, but the minimum you would do to execute the strategy is these four. Now, otherwise, there is more vital interest. There's not more things that are crucial to actually executing this, which is that he has more vital interest in Aragon's land than the ones that we do. And strategic counts for this purpose as well. So we're doing the minimum to execute the strategy plus Aragon, but that's provided that he desires Valencia, etc. up here. If he did not desire this, then it wouldn't work. Now let's talk really quickly, because I have been accused that this is an exploit in the past, and when I do proper runs and so on, I am not an exploit player. I play without exploits, and I vehemently disagree that this is an exploit. And the reason why is because we are exploiting a game mechanic. That is essentially what gamers do. They exploit game mechanics to their advantage, but this is not a game-breaking exploit, because I define those to be basically using game mechanics in a way they're not intended to be used. We're simply using the mechanics in the way they are intended to be used, and I can justify that by telling those people who do not know If we had vital interest this stuff before we allied Castile, he would not be interested in allying us. And now that we are allied to him, there is actually a hidden modifier where he basically gets malice against us, and he will actually break alliance with us if you vital interest too much. So those are two mechanics that we're staying under, if that makes sense, that we're avoiding. And secondly, the second reason why I don't consider it to be an exploit is because people do it all the time subconsciously without even knowing. And if something happens all the time without even knowing and you have to actually deliberately avoid doing it, I just consider it to be a flaw in game design. So I just want to get that right out of the way. But with that being said, it's time to actually declare this war and show you guys what's up. Before we do that, I'm going to go ahead and sabotage Aragon here to make this go nice and smoothly. So needless to say, if you were doing this yourself, let's delete his units and turn his force off. You would have to win the war. So I don't want to actually, this isn't a Navarra guide as to how to win the war. I'm trying to demonstrate how to promise land and not give it to them. But we're going to try to make the war nice and easy. So with that being said, let's go. It's a standard war where we're promising land to Castile, except the difference is I've very deliberately vital interested these provinces, and let's go. So with his fort off, we should be able to get that, and we want to make every occupation that we had made vital. That's very important to us. Let's start hitting here immediately. Apparently the fort blocks us, so we don't have to worry about Castile getting there either then, because he obviously doesn't have the movement. So let's go ahead and make these occupations really quickly. I can switch over to Aragon and unconditionally surrender, but that can only happen after 12 months. So that's what I'll do here. If he puts up some legitimate resistance, he might hire mercs or something like that. But otherwise, I'm going to skip ahead here until we've won. I'll show you one more thing before we do that though, however. And it's the fact that you can see if we take land, Castile is mad. So nothing unusual, right? Exactly what you would expect. This is what we're gunning for, and Castile's mad. I'll see you in a second here when we've won the war. Alrighty guys, I'm actually going to do it while I'm recording, because I want to show you live in person that he doesn't want us to take this land, and it's going to actually be different once he has acquired all of the occupations of these vital and strategic provinces. So the last one is Valencia, so we're going to wait until he acquires it, but I just want to see, I want you guys to see it in real time here that he's mad if we take these provinces. But as soon as Valencia falls, he doesn't mind. There we go. So that is pretty much perfectly demonstrating here that he has these occupations and he doesn't mind. Now you can actually take war reparations. Those are things that would normally irritate your friends who you have called to arms under these circumstances. Correct. But in this case, we can do it no problem. So if we wait one more month, I believe on the 2nd of Jan, around now is when I declared the war. So we can get this back over with by... Oh, that makes things awkward. I'm going to unconditionally surrender here. There we go. And we can do whatever we want. Any of this stuff, and Castile does not mind. So there it is, guys. The peace deal we were looking for. And let's go ahead and talk about this phenomenon. That is what I call the Promised Land Swindle. The phenomenon that occurred here is that Castile joined under the condition that both he and I were going to contest this land. We told him beforehand that I wanted this. Now, if he was a very passive ruler, and let's say Aragon wasn't his rival, what he would typically do is actually remove his vital interest on the vital interest that we have. But you can't exploit that too much because he'll break alliance with you, like I said. But in this case, he does remain vital, and that means if he gets the occupation, he's going to keep it for himself. But he's willing to join under the condition that you and him are contesting these vital interest provinces. He's also willing to join under the condition that you will give him these provinces. So the idea is to get the box out on Castile, get all of the occupations you need, as I demonstrated, but you wish to allow him to make these occupations, and you simply switch it to him if he doesn't. But you must occupy everything, that's the point. And the AI decides that you're being nice to him, you're willing to give him the land, but he decides of his own accord that he doesn't want it. And the reason he doesn't want it, of course, is because it's basically an overseas colony. He doesn't have a direct land bridge. And the AI, bar a few very rare exceptions, will not ever take an overseas colony. So one of those exceptions, for example, which is actually relevant to this region, is a colonial personality type on their ruler. But a colonial personality type on their ruler is only actually, it will only ever occur if they already have colonists. So keep that in mind. Under those conditions, they will actually take like random colonies. But 9 times out of 10 or even more, this is going to work every time without actually... what can be even more effective is, let's say we did the opposite. Let's say we allied Aragon and called Castile to arms. Let's say that we box out these. So we occupied these so Aragon can't take it. Well, everything he might desire is probably inland at that point. So in that case, you have a guarantee that he will join and not take the provinces, because he doesn't have the ability to core them. So this is infinitely applicable to different theatres and different regions around the world, of course, not Navarra. And I wanted to demonstrate it here with Navarra because I thought it would be nice and fun. And this is actually somewhat realistic. You know, that war that we just declared is somewhat winnable. I'm just saying. But that is the phenomenon. It's that you're giving him these, he's agreeing into it beforehand, but once you actually occupy them, he realizes he doesn't want them. So a good example would be as the nation of Mantua. You can see the AI has allied Milan. If you are a very hard difficulty player like myself, Milan is actually an invalid rival for Mantua, which means in the beginning of the game you can guaranteed get a royal marriage with him. I'm talking from experience. And that will mean that he doesn't get too many relations, and you can basically guarantee to ally Milan. That's the point I'm trying to make as Mantua. But the other thing about Milan is they will always vital interest their cores. They have cores against Venice, which means he will always help you against Venice, with the exception of if it will destabilize his country because he's like in love with them. But he will always join. So let's say you're playing as Mantua, you can promise Milan land, you simply vital interest this, you box him out of that, you vital interest this stuff, but you would leave Brescia, so you're baiting him. He's coming in for Brescia. Now, this is a very unique situation, now I think about it, because you could give that to him because it's his core. However, believe it or not, that actually works to your advantage. What you would need to do in this case is vital interest both the cores, which would prevent you having to give it to him, and you would use Verona as bait. It would work, trust me. The cores actually work in your favour, but it gets a little bit complicated. So all you would simply do is let the Ottomans attack Venice, or Albania, where Venice backs them up, and with the help of Milan you should be able to hopefully own Venice, and you would use this as a bottleneck and not give him any land. I hope that benefits you guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you very much for watching. Make sure to follow my links down below, and make sure to give your feedback, guys. If you enjoyed this content, or if you would like help with other game mechanics, let me know. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time.